recording and then letting folks in, and then they have an open invitation, so people will pop in, pop out, however they choose, and then we'll just have the conversation. And then again, it's going to be recorded, so we'll be able to see it live on the page. In about a month, I'll tag you all in it once it's edited and ready to rock and roll. So we will begin. So welcome to the Black Latina Summit Mental Health and Therapy Edition. I think it's such an important topic and conversation for us to have. It's near and dear to my heart. I think that it's so important for us to see ourselves in these spaces. As a public speaker and someone who has been in the public eye for like 16 years with the Black Latina movement and traveling to different universities and speaking to young brown and Black people with the mission of having like social education with some of our productions. I'm very comfortable saying that I have been in therapy for many years, on and off, with my family, without my family. And I think it's such an important topic for us to feel comfortable speaking on, for us to not think about a lot of the stigmas behind mental health, and know that when you are looking to get healthy or better in life, you seek professionals, right? So you want to lose a couple of pounds, you want to get cute, you go, if you want to get your makeup done, you go to a professional. You want your body to be right, you go to a professional. But I think sometimes we miss the mark on like what the insides look like, right? And so what our mental is, and there's a lot of stigmas behind that I want us to work on breaking today. So we have two fabulous guests today that I would love to introduce to you. First, we have Chanell Smiley. Chanell Smiley, LCSW, is the founder of Keep Smiling Therapy, a mental health private practice, and Smile More in Life Everyday Inc., a nonprofit 501c3, which goal is to educate, bring awareness, and emphasize the importance of mental health access and community engagement. Chanell has worked in healthcare industry for several years in different roles. Chanell worked in different hospital settings as a social worker and in administration. Prior to her hospital experience, she worked with developmentally disabled population, which was extremely helpful in her future, as later in life, she would learn that her son is developmental delayed. In her spare time, Chanell enjoys traveling, outdoor activities, spending time with her two children, Jada and Jaden, family, friends, and dog, Bentley. Thank you for being a part of this, Chanell.
For having me.
Next, we have Julianna. Londono is a proud Latina first-gen graduate focused on supporting Latinos and communities of color to feel empowered with their mental health. Julianna is a bilingual and licensed mental health therapist in New Jersey, but after recognizing the barriers in the system, she created her own business to provide awareness, education, and resources as a distinguished public speaker, thought leader, and mental health advocate. Julianna has been trusted by Fortune 100 companies and the Big Four accounting firms and institutions of higher education. She most recently earned her certificate in women's entrepreneurship from Cornell University and completed the NASDAQ Milestone Program. Her hobbies include figure skating, completing jigsaw puzzles, and reading books. Thank you for coming, Julianna.
Thank you so much for having me. This is going to be a great conversation.
Yes, for sure. So let's kick it off. Like, what are some of like the biggest problems and myths when it comes to mental health, when it comes to therapy, from your experience in the Black and Brown community? And either one of you can jump in.
Oh, this is a great one. Great one. I could definitely kick us off. So for Latinos specifically, I have seen a lot of it being that, one, the stigma, two, the influence of religion. Latinos are, the majority identify as Catholic. So a lot of the conversations that go on at home are often, oh, something's wrong, go see your priest, go see a pastor. It's never really the point person as a therapist. And then third, right, since we can't see mental illness and mental conditions, it often goes overlooked. And then it becomes one of those things of, if I can't see it, I'm not going to address it. And hence why I'm specifically seeing a lot of folks in their 30s, 40s, and 50s, right, really tapping into, hey, I realize this is something from childhood. It was just never addressed. So I would say those three factors for sure.
And I'm going to jump in there as well. I think that we really don't understand what mental health is, right? So in my community, and probably similar to most communities of color, we are coming from survival versus thriving. So for us, it's like if you have food and you have a house, you have water, there's nothing wrong with you, right? So I think that it's the miseducation of mental health. People don't understand what mental health is in our community because it's not something that we focused on, because majority of the time we focused on surviving, the basic needs of survival.
My God, that's so true. Like the surviving versus thriving. Sometimes I feel like in the conversations, it's like, did you do that because you wanted to do it and you were thriving in it, or was it a survival tactic? Because a lot of I know for me, a lot of my decision making, and when I was in that mode, I look back on it and I'm like, did I do that, or was it because I was surviving through it? So that's such a like poignant poignant point. What do you think are some of the changes that have happened in like the past 5 years, positive or negative, when it comes to the space of therapy and people seeking out help?
I feel like people are actually talking about it now, right? When you're on social media, you see it now. People are actually engaging in conversation. People are actually proud to say, I'm in therapy, before it seemed so taboo. So I think the beautiful thing about it is that now we have created a space over the last 5 years where people are comfortable with talking about therapy. Also understanding, like I tell people all the time, therapy is not because something's wrong with you, right? We can be proactive. It can be,
Thank
I always say,
you.
life is gonna happen. So at some point, you're gonna either move, get a new job. There's transitions, right? That's difficult to just go through regular life transitions. It doesn't need to be that you're in crisis to go to therapy. So I think that now that those conversations are happening in schools, and now not in schools as much as they should, but they're happening in schools and they're happening in the workplace and they're happening online, that is the change that's happening. It's a positive change, if you ask me.
Thank you for that, Chanel, because people always think, oh, something's wrong with you. You're crazy. You got something. Why are you in therapy? And it's like, nothing's wrong. I'm just
Right.
speaking to a professional. So I really appreciate you saying that today.
I will go ahead and add a different spin on that question. I think one of the downsides the past 5 years has been social media, in the sense of, I see a lot of clients, especially my teenagers, my young adults, where it's, oh my God, Juliana, I think I have schizophrenia. Like, okay, tell me, what do you know about schizophrenia?
Mm-hmm.
And then they go on to quote TikTok.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So the misinformation that is out there, and I get it, right? Oftentimes it's people sharing their own experience. But for younger and younger individuals that do have access to any social media, it's the misinformation that they're getting, or they will base it off, oh my gosh, this one thing that I do similarly to this other individual equals X, Y, and Z diagnosis. And like that just, it shakes me to the core, because in so many ways it's taking us so many steps backwards, when there is still the access of, right, people are now talking about it, but let's talk about it with the right information, with the right resources, and with a professional.
Mm-hmm. I see that, because a lot of times too, even me, like I'll go to the doctor, but before I go, I'll be on WebMD and say, I think I have this. And she's like, no, where did you get that from? Where did you think that you have this? So I know, as healthcare professionals, that must be like frustrating. So I totally can get that. Um, what do you think? I mean, everything is small steps, right? So like when we think of health and we think of physical health, people, doctors will say, you go to the gym, you don't have to spend 10 hours at the gym. Every little bit, small steps to the bigger goals. So when it comes to mental health, what do you think we should be doing, like on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, that could change the scope of like how we feel mentally, or how we're approaching our mental health?
Yeah, I'll jump in. So I think that actually going to therapy, I think that going to therapy, people stop looking at therapy as, like I said once before, as a crisis, but more as proactive, as just like a check-in, just, hey, how my week went? Let's discuss the week. Let's discuss what happened at work. And did you handle the situation appropriately? Or was there a better way to handle the situation? Maybe you and your spouse got into a conflict. How did you handle that situation? I think that going to therapy now, if you don't need to go weekly, at least what I tell my clients, right? If they're coming weekly and then things is good, let's go bi-weekly. And then sometimes
Mhm.
once a month. I always, let's just do a check-in. There's nothing wrong with a check-in. And God forbid, if a crisis happens, we can increase those sessions right back up to once a week instead of you having to go back and trying to find another therapist because let's say there's no openings and things of that nature. So I think keeping your therapist, if you have a therapist, even when people reach out to me sometimes and say, I have a therapist, but I think I want a new therapist, I will ask them why. And if you have a great rapport with your therapist, stay with your therapist. They know you. If you feel like you just want to, you have to give me a reason on why you want to try something different. But I think that staying in therapy, and like I said, if you don't need to go weekly, go monthly. Just go for your check-ins, talk about what happened during the month and see how things are going.
I love that. Yes, it's so important. If you have a therapist and you love them and you appreciate who they are and they get you, do not let them go. Please do not let them go. These wait times, I mean, talk about one of the biggest barriers, right? You can call any place, right? They'll give you an appointment a month from now. So please, 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 yes, I can't emphasize that enough. Can you remind me of the question, Crystal? Because I just went on a
No,
tangent
what?
here.
No, you were right. What can we do? The small steps. What can we do
Okay,
weekly
yes.
or monthly or daily to kind of, help promote our mental health?
Absolutely. I always reinforce to clients that there's a lot that we can do that is FREE, free. And if it's free, it's for me, AKA what I am doing right now, sitting in the sun. For folks that are on the East Coast listening and tuning in, right? Like we had a brutal winter, right? Like get outdoors, even like 10 minutes will make a difference of direct sunlight, not through a window, not in your car, like direct sunlight. We know the benefits of walking, getting any type of exercise. And then last but not least, sleep. All three of those things are free. And they're so important and they go hand in hand with your mental health overall and your well-being. So really tune into that. Those three areas of your life can make such a difference.
I love that. I love that. When we talk about like consumption, right? We know we don't always, I guess when it comes to our bodies, physical bodies, we talk about like consumption where you're eating because you don't want to get diabetes, you don't want high cholesterol. But I don't think we talk enough about what we eat could affect our mental and how that has such a like huge effect on how our body is processing stuff. In addition to that, I'm gonna make this like a longer thing, but in addition to that, what we consume visually, right? Like this can be our worst enemy right before bed, or older folks will watch the news, which we know now mentally is the worst thing you could do before you go to bed. But now we have this, which is the new TV. So when it comes to what we eat, consumption wise, and what we're visually consuming, how important is that when it comes to our mental health?
It's huge. Oh my goodness. And it's the one point that I try to think of everything in moderation. So how can, right, because telling anybody in this day and age, right, throw your phone out the window is impossible, right? We need these things, right, for work, for our safety, for checking in with family, for access to different resources. So rather, let's just be mindful of what we're watching. So if we know, hey, every time I'm scrolling and, right, because this algorithm's going to pick up and you're really only seeing 5 to 10% of your followers. So make sure that your followers are people that are good vibes, that give you good energy. If you are continuously watching and consuming visually things that are about depression, anything that's triggering for you, anything that makes you anxious, that's not going to be good. Right. So, and again, when you think, okay, I follow 10,000 people, great. The algorithm really only shows you 5 to 10% of that. So you're going to
Oh,
routinely
wow.
see the same things over and over and over again.
I didn't know that. Wow, that's insane. And it only does that 5 to 10, like the same 5 to 10%, or it'll
The
switch it to the
same
5.
5 to 10. Nope.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Good to know.
And I have
Yeah.
to,
So be mindful.
I would have to agree with Juliana, 100% being mindful. And like she said, you're only going to really see that 5 to 10%. And also when you go on the explore page, whatever you're watching is going to be on your explore page. So even the pages that you don't follow, that just Instagram likes to show, it's the things that you are consuming. So if you're consuming positive affirmations and things like that, that's going to naturally be inside of your algorithm. And I stress that to my clients a lot too. Change your algorithm, because I can tell you to put your phone down, but the chances of you doing that is slim. So let's switch up the algorithm, even down to eating. Like you said, eating is so, so, so important. I know we all are victims of it because I'm not the best with eating either, but I'm mindful of what I am consuming, because let's say you go and you eat fast food at 11 a.m., you're wondering why by 2 you're exhausted and you just can't, you have no energy and stuff. So you have to be extremely mindful of what you eat. And like we always say, your physical health and mental health goes hand in hand. So what you put into your body will, like I said, I'm pretty sure we all have gotten so full and we're like, oh, I just want to go to bed and it's 1 p.m. and you just don't have the energy to finish the day. And then what happens? You start beating yourself up because like, oh, I have so much to do today. I got so much work to do, but I'm too tired. And that could put you in a downward spiral as well. So eating, well, what you consume as well as what you watch is extremely important.
I appreciate the disclaimer, when it says like a triggering, it's like this content. I appreciate it because depending on how the day is, and I don't think we, again, like listening to ourselves enough, it's like, oh, well, I just have to see. Look, I appreciate that disclaimer because if I'm going through it, having discernment and being mindful, it's like, why would I want to watch this? Like you said, it's going to downward spiral me because I already had a horrible day. Now I'm going to watch somebody be confronted with a Karen, and it's just going to get me to that point. And
Right,
then
right.
I'm going to bed like stressed and sick to my stomach, not realizing that it does have a direct correlation to how we're feeling. I love that. Why is therapy so important and essential for people of color? Why do we need it? Why is it so important?
I think that one of the main reasons why we need therapy is changing our mindset. And like I said in the beginning of this conversation, a lot of us come from a survival mindset. And a lot of us are actually doing pretty well now, right? Our parents probably weren't doing that well. They were surviving. A lot of us are in the thriving sector now. A lot of us are doing well, but a lot of us still have our mindset of when we was children, our norm, right? So some things that we do, we don't know why we do it, but it's because we've been doing it that way for years, right?
Mhm.
Even when you was
Mhm.
talking about, I think we was about some of the things that you have done, Crystal, as regards to like, did I do that in a surviving way? Sometimes I find myself doing things that don't make sense to my current lifestyle. I'm like, why are you even worried about that? But like, you get so stressed and you get so worried. I think I heard Gabrielle Union say it one time in one of her interviews that sometimes she's still scared of money, like she doesn't have money because that's where we come from. And I realized some of the things I'm thinking like, oh, can I do that? Can I do that? Of course you can do that, but set where we come from, right? Our history, we're surviving. So we don't know how to thrive. I don't want to say we don't know how to. We need help thriving. We need help changing our mindset. We need help giving ourselves positive affirmation. I'm not saying that our parents didn't do it, but it wasn't important.
And
Right.
then we feel guilty about it, right?
Feel guilty. Or think about it. I hear people say, like, oh, I don't want to be cocky, but it's okay to brag about yourself and be confident because where we come from is, oh, you're cocky, you're cocky. It's like, no, I'm just confident in who I am. But learning that, right? That was something that I struggled with as far as like people like, oh, you don't tell people what you do when you always minimize what you do. And it's like, I don't want to seem like I'm being cocky and I'm throwing things in people's face. It's like, no, you worked hard for the things that you have accomplished and you should be confident in the things that you do. Right. But that's something that I had to learn on my healing journey. It's okay because you put the work in to do that. So I think that's literally changing our mindset. We have some great things that's instilled in us, but I think there's a little bit of shifting that needs to be happening.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So true.
I love that. And in a way to connect it, I would say for Latinos and Black individuals, the importance of going to therapy really is dismantling the intergenerational trauma that we either consciously are aware of or unconsciously are aware of. Um, right? Because a lot of the times, right, and with the mindset, it's not just 1 or 2 generations. We're talking a lot of generations, right? Like these are things that are ingrained in us from a very, very young age. And as children, right, we don't know any better, right? Like we're going to listen to our parents, we're going to go with the flow. And we don't realize oftentimes until we're older, like, oh, daddy beating mommy was not love, right? Or, oh, yeah, I didn't realize, right? Like we had to wait in line at a food bank, for 3 hours. Like other families didn't do that. It's not until we're older that we realize so much of the intergenerational trauma that we've experienced and that we carry and then we hold on to. And then doing that work so that, one, we address it for ourselves, but then we heal for ourselves, for our children, our grandchildren, or even just our communities, our neighbors, people in our churches, people in our group settings. It really comes down to healing and breaking all those barriers.
It's so true because Chanell, when you were talking about feeling cocky or being in survival mode, it's like, I came from a finance corporate America background, and I remember a lot of us, brown and Black girls will be afraid to ask for certain things. Where like our white counterparts, them girls was like, I know I'm gonna ask for this raise, and we'd be like, well, we should just be happy with what we have. Like we're just, and it's that survival mode of like, I just got a seat at the table. Maybe I should just be a little timid about this, or maybe I should. And it's that, it's embedded in our mind. And then to your point, Juliana, some of it is family trauma too, because when I left those spaces, when I was like, you know what, I don't want to do this anymore. Like I'm leaving corporate America. Like I'm going to just fully be an entrepreneur. My dad, who's full Puerto Rican, was like, are you insane? Like, are you like, but you're making money and everything's fine, and what's the problem? And I'm like, because this place is not good for my mental health. And it was just this struggle of him not understanding, like, well, what are you going to do? Because he's first generation American. So he knew what it was to come to a country where you couldn't speak, his mother and father didn't speak Spanish. And so he had to start from the bottom. So he's living in survival mode. And then it's kind of like embedded in how he raised me. And I'm like, no more survival mode. Like, Chanell, this is not happening. Juliana, this is no more. But a lot of people are like this.
I want to piggyback when you said a seat at the table. That's another reason why we need to go to therapy, because a lot of us, this is our first time at the table. And a lot of us don't feel like we're worthy to be at the table, or we're scared to be at the table, or we're intimidated to be at the table. And we are supposed to be at those tables. But then when we're sitting there, we're the only person of color, you're like, I'm scared to speak up, but you know that some of us are more educated than the people at the table. So I think another thing to piggyback what we were saying about going to therapy is when you are a first generational whatever, or you are sitting at these tables and everybody is white and you're the only person of color, that can be intimidating sometimes. And that's another reason to go to therapy as well, because a lot of us don't feel like like you said, we're supposed to be grateful. And yes, you should be grateful, but it's kind of to the point that we dumb ourselves down because we're just so happy to be at the table instead of realizing we're supposed to be in these rooms, we're supposed to be at these tables, we're supposed to give our opinions, and we're supposed to be confident while we're doing it.
Very true.
Absolutely. And I know you mentioned, Crystal, your background in finance. As we know, March is Women's History Month. We just celebrated International Women's Day, but also it was a day to address the pay gap. And when you look at those numbers, right, what Latina women, Black women, Asian women make in comparison to a white male, I mean, the disparity and the inequitable situation that we are just by default, right, born into, like that is not okay. And that reinforces the reason why we need to be at these tables.
Mm-hmm. And it messes with your head. It messes with your head.
It does. It does. And if there's no table, make your own and bring your own chairs.
I love that. I love that. How do we, some of us are in therapy, some of us are not, right? And it's changing. The tide is definitely changing. Like we were saying earlier, where it's becoming more of a conversation and people are feeling more comfortable, but not all of us in our group and our communities are in therapy. So how do we advocate therapy in our spaces with our friends and our family in our communities without seeming too preachy? Because that one friend who went to the gym and now her body looks amazing and she's like, don't eat that burger. And you're like, mid-bite. So you don't want to be, you don't want to be that person to seem dogmatic and it's like, oh, I don't want Crystal around because she's just going to talk about therapy. So how, what are some of the tips of like helping, those in our families, our friends, and our communities to kind of, help them go through the journey without seeming like you're pressuring them or too preachy?
That's a great point, Crystal. And for me, and a part of why I love networking and connecting with folks as a therapist is because it's very different when I, a Latina, can come to someone and say, hey, I can be your therapist, but I know of Chanell. And if you live in New York and she's a Black therapist and she's a woman and she gets it, that's a very different conversation than the I know this therapist, right? And then you're going to call or look at the website and it's going to be a white woman, right? And the field is dominated by white, affluent women, meaning they come from rich or wealthy backgrounds. And that was definitely not me, right? But it's a different perspective when we can share, hey, I know of a colleague, or for me being bilingual, right? I can connect you with another bilingual therapist, or here are other resources, right? When they are culturally appropriate for what it means for us, not what is out there for people to define, but what it genuinely means for us. I think that is what makes a difference in getting folks that need those resources.
I have to 1,000% agree with Juliana, that connecting and networking and I think that's a mission for us as therapists, right? To make sure we know other therapists. That's the reason why one of the biggest things I do is always network with other therapists, always going out to eat or coffee or just Zoom calls with other therapists, because they're also, I would hate if I don't have any openings or I just can't service you, I would hate to just send you to anybody. Because a lot of times this is our people's first times ever going to therapy. And what happens is I'll hear this story, like, I went to therapy, it just didn't work for me. I'm like, well, you have to keep kind of trying. Just because this particular therapist didn't work doesn't mean that another therapist isn't going to work for you, right? And I call it therapist shopping, but you are supposed to until you build a rapport with people. Also, I think that for us that have been in therapy, like you said, going into these spaces with our friends and kind of recommended therapy, I think talking about it in a positive light, not saying you need it, but saying my experience, like, oh, it just feels good to have a safe space that I can talk about things that's going on. Or, sometimes I don't want to just dump everything on my friends because it is heavy. Some of the things that we are going through is heavy. And when our friends love us and care about us, they're actually taking on our problems. And it's like, I don't want to burden you as well. But I think having the conversation about your experience in therapy versus saying, I think you need therapy. I think that's that. During the pandemic, our numbers increased because people were going to therapy. I remember this one African-American woman came and I was like, okay, so what brings you to therapy? And she was like, I don't know. My insurance covers it. And my friend's been talking about it. So I just wanted to see what it was like. I'm like, okay, we could start there. She's like, and I only have a $20 copay. So I said, okay, let's try it. By the end of the session, she's like, I can't believe this is only $20. I'm like, it's just your copay. It's more than $20. It's just your copay. But she was like, I want to come every week. Like I felt, and she didn't even know what she was coming for. So I'm like, just tell me about yourself and stuff like that. And just feeling that safe environment. I think that as us, as therapists and then people who are going to therapy, talk about our experience and what it has done for us and how it's like, I can't wait to see my therapist. And especially like you said, when you have therapists of color, we understand the lingo and stuff like that. We understand the memes sometimes that you're like, oh, I seen this meme and I thought about you. My clients love to tell me these different memes they've seen and stuff like that. Right. I think that if we have those conversations with our friends versus, you need to leave them alone and go to a therapist, I think they will be more willing to go, let me try that out. Let me see what that's about. I want to see what this unbiased, safe space that my friend is talking about is really about.
So true. So true. What are some of the, we hear some of these terms like mental health eval. What are some of the dangers of a person not seeking help for a mental health condition? I know it can be an array of dangers, obviously, but if someone is struggling with something, and they're really just afraid, or they're, like you said, there's these taboos about culture. What are some of the, I guess, pitfalls that can happen if someone is not seeking help, and why we need to help advocate them to gain help?
The one that comes to mind is the suicide rates, and how suicide does not discriminate towards your gender, your ethnicity, sexual orientation, age. ethnic origin, nationality, you name it. So when we think of it, right, at the core, right, especially when we think of suicide, right, what were the warning signs? Was there anyone in your circle that missed the warning signs, that didn't know, that could have supported you, that could have been that one person? Because it genuinely takes one person, and it could genuinely just be, hi, good morning, I see you. It can be that powerful. Right. So really thinking of what that is doing to our communities of color that are already, right, we're already facing poverty, we're already facing discrimination, a gender pay gap. We're facing all of these other things, racism, classism, you name it, all the isms. Um, and then to think of suicide, and it impacts so many Black and Brown individuals, and yet in the media, we see the white folks. We often, right, we don't hear the stories of people from communities of color, to create that awareness, and to have it be ingrained as a part of our community of how can we support one another to a point that we're seen. So that's why it's so important to have the community health programs and all of these different resources at the community level, at the grassroots, on the ground, because if not, it can be so easily missed.
Yes, I have to 1,000% agree with that. And I'm going to take a different approach as well. I talk about the importance of a support system. A support system is so, so, so important. So what you said, Crystal, was how important it is to acknowledge if you have a mental illness. A lot of people don't know they have one, right? So they can't acknowledge something they don't know they have, especially if they never been to therapy, they never had a psych evaluation before. But what I stress, even on my platforms everywhere, is the importance of a support system. And the reason why I stress that is because your support system is going to notice when you're off. Your support system is going to notice when something's not right. If your support, and I always tell people, your support system should include people that love you, that you love, that pour into you, that care about you. So you know that when they're coming to you with a problem, you should not be getting defensive. You should think to yourself, these are people that love me, that care about me, that want to see me win. So if they're saying to you, you seem a little off, Crystal, lately, dig into that a little bit more, right? Because that's the reason why I always say your support system, you get to pick them, right? Our family, we can't pick, but your support system, you get to pick these people. So if Crystal is a part of my support system and I love her and I talk to her every day, every other day, I know she's rooting for me and she's telling me, Chanell, you seem a little down lately. I shouldn't be defensive. I should be like, well, what does that mean? What does that look like, right? I think if we surround ourselves with people that love and care about us and understand the importance of a support system and not get defensive when people are trying to tell us stuff, then maybe we could be like, let me get that checked out. The same way if my arm is hurting and I tell you my arm is hurting, you say, well, go to the doctor, go to urgent care, go see what's going on with it, right? And let's say for me, I might be like, it's just annoying. It's just my arm. It's just always doing that. But as you being my friend, you'll be like, this is day 3, you're doing this with your arm. I think you should go to urgent care and see what's going on. So I think that, like I said with the support system, because people have different views on support, you get to pick them. It doesn't have to be your uncle, your cousin. You get to strategically pick these people that pour into you, that love you, that you love, so that when they're bringing something to your attention and they're telling you, I love you, Crystal, I need you, something just that seems a little off with you, at that moment, then you should be going to seek treatment, seek help, go for a consultation. But I bring it back because, like I said earlier, sometimes we're just working, that we don't realize it. So sometimes it's very important that the people that will realize it is the people around us before we will realize it. We're working on our everyday tasks that we're not realizing that we seem a little off, a little anxious, a little depressed, a little whatever the symptom may be. But like I said, if you're telling me because you're seeing it, because you love me and you're talking to me every day and you're seeing a change in my mood, then we should definitely go out and go look for treatment.
100%. 100%. Nadia said, unfortunately, these people have to admit something is wrong with them to get help. Yeah. I'm gonna open up the floor for guests to ask questions, but before that, would you ladies like to leave any final remarks about mental health, about therapy, and anything like that you would like to tell the audience?
So what I will say about therapy is trust the process and enjoy the journey. And what do I mean by that? When you first come to therapy, sometimes it's not laughing and joking. Some days you're going to leave out of there crying. The first couple of sessions, you might leave out of there just feeling like, what am I going to her for? Why would I do this? Trust the process, right? Enjoy the journey. Listen, and I don't want to say listen, but engage in the session, have the conversations, question your therapist. There's nothing wrong with that. Like, why would you say that? Because we are creating a safe space for you. So question us. Do not leave there confused. You asked 1,000,001 questions. Understand that is your timing and that is your space. That is your space to get angry, upset, cry, do all that things. We're creating that safe space that we're taking that in and processing that with you. But in the beginning, you're probably, I'm not gonna say you're not gonna like us. You're not gonna like the process, right? You'll love us. But you might not enjoy the process because we're digging up things that you didn't know needed to be digged up. We're having
Yeah,
uncomfortable
definitely.
conversations. We're telling you the way that you think. We need to cognitively reframe the thought process because the way that you're thinking, you're a negative person. You're like, I'm not negative. It's like, well, let's say another way you could reframe that. Another way you could say that, right? So trust the process. I think what happens is sometimes people go to therapy and then they leave there feeling icky. It's like, oh,
Mhm.
so basically she told me I was negative. She told me I can't talk.
I'm laughing because she is me. I am she. Because when I first started, I was like, I would get off the phone. The meme of the guy that's like,
Yeah. Yeah.
started my first couple of sessions, like, is she for real? And
Right.
I love my therapist. Her name is Jasmine. Love her, love her, love her. But I was so infuriated that I had to really check my ego and step back and say, you know what? She's right. And like the connecting of the dots will blow up, right?
Yes.
But to your point, it was taking me out. I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna make it at this next session. Yeah.
Because what ends up happening is sometimes we feel attacked,
Yeah.
right? Because I'm like, I'm a good person. I didn't say you weren't a good person. I said the way you process your thoughts are not healthy. That's what I said to you. I didn't say that you're a negative person naturally. I said that you talk negatively about yourself and you make it a joking matter. So you joke about the things that you say about you, like, oh, I'm fat. It's like that's not funny. Look at the way you're talking about yourself. And that's why I say trust the process and enjoy the journey. Do not go, if you feel like you have a rapport with your therapist, stick it out for a little bit. That's my
Jasleen said, love that, Chanel. I definitely agree.
She's on a vibe. She's given all the right energy. And I love that. I love that. What I would add, go to therapy for yourself, not for your spouse, not for your mom, your auntie, your siblings. Go to therapy because you genuinely want to embark in that journey. Um, and it is selfishly in the best way about you. Therapy is not, oh, how I'm going to learn to change somebody else. Because I often hear, right, I'm in therapy because my boyfriend said I should see a therapist. I'm in therapy because, everyone else in my family's in therapy. And I thought, well, this is something that, I felt like I needed to do. No, like own it. Be 100% certain that you want to embark on this journey for yourself. And if there's anything that you can do and be selfish about it in the best possible way, therapy is one of those things.
Love that. I love that. Does any of our guests want to, you don't have to get on camera, but you can unmute yourself and ask the women any questions you would like. You could do so now. Or you could also type it in the chat. Where can we find you ladies? Where can the work that you're doing, if someone wants to see you, someone wants to utilize your services, let the audience members know where they can do that.
Okay, so I am Chanell Smiley on Instagram and every social media. It's Chanell Smiley. It might be Chanell_Smiley. My business page is Keep Smiling Therapy. On Instagram, it's Keep Smiling Therapy. On Facebook, on everything, it's Keep Smiling Therapy. We have a lot of events going on. We also, like Crystal mentioned in the beginning, we have a nonprofit that helps people pay for therapy. You can always call us just to get resources, even if we're not going to be your therapist. If you just need different resources, we will definitely help you and guide you in with different resources that we have going on. We have our second annual mental health gala. I have to promote it. It is on May 2nd in Long Island. So if anybody wants to attend, it will be amazing. It will be a lot of wellness and just mental health and advocacy and awareness. And we're just going to have us a good time. Like I always tell people, I've been going to galas for years, and mine is one with seasoning salt because I always say they're boring. They're boring. If you've been to galas, they are boring. I promise you, this one is not a boring one. We have us a good time while we're still bringing awareness to such an important topic. So you can find us there. We have right now, I believe it's 7 or 8 therapists. We have Latina, I'm learning Latina therapists, as well as African-American therapists as well.
Awesome. And for me, definitely Instagram and LinkedIn are my biggest platforms. And my website is currently under construction. So I will have a brand new website and a rebrand. But once that is up and ready to go, it'll be my first name dash my last name.com. All of my links, any platform that you go to, you'll have my direct email. If you have any questions, feel free to DM. Again, if I can connect you to any resource, any platform, or anyone in my network.
Jasleen said, yes, I am a grad student and currently am a current counsel intern, and I started going to therapy. Yes, girl. Yes,
I
yes,
want to
yes,
shout
yes.
out to all of the grad students
Woo.
and students in general, right? I think this is also another topic that we need to create a safe space for people that's actually going into therapy, even though you're an intern and stuff like that, being able to come into a space where you have mentorships. I always said, I wish I had me a mentor when I was a student and a brand new therapist. It was very hard to find a mentor, especially a mentor of color. So if you
Yep.
can find you a mentor of color, please grab onto them. Mentorship is so important, especially when you get in the field. We offer clinical supervision at our practice. A lot of times when you start working, people don't have time to offer clinical supervision. I think it's super, super important. So please make sure you're getting your clinical supervision. Make sure you have your intern. Make sure that you have a support system of other therapists that you can kind of network and have conversations about different topics that's going on. So shout out to all of the grad students and the students that's coming into the therapy space. Future
Yes, we love you.
make sure you, if I don't say anything else, the importance of a mentorship. Like Julianna said, it's important to network and connect. After this, I'm going to get her information to make sure that me and her stay in contact, right? It's so important.
I love it. It's awesome. It's important. It really is. Because, as we grow and progress, we're still like, unicorns in some of these spaces. So it kind of, we kind of grab on and create our own little network and hold on to each other until obviously the tides will turn and we'll see hundreds and thousands of us in these different spaces. So if no one has any questions, I want to thank everyone for joining today and to having Chanell and Julianna. We get to see Black and brown women in these spaces that are fun, right? Like therapy doesn't have to be something that's super stuffy like we see on TV where you're laying on the couch and you're telling your problems. You can couch if you want to, but it doesn't have to look that way. These are women that could look like your sisters, your aunts, your moms. And I think it's so important that to have faces like you. So I thank you so much for the work you do because, this space that we're in our skin can get really tricky and really funny. And at times we don't know what we're feeling. We can't explain it. And we're just inundated with so much from work, from the country, from society, and our families. So I thank you. I want to give you, ladies, your flowers now. If you don't get it enough. And I hope and pray that you both are taking care of your mental health, because one thing about, us as Black and brown women, we always pour into everybody else's cup, but then we don't pour into our own enough. So I really hope that you both are doing that. Jasleen said, yeah, thank you, ladies.
Yeah. Thank you for having us. Thank you for creating this platform for
Yes.
people of color, because it is so needed. We need so many platforms like this where people can see people that look just like them.
Yes.
Yes.
So
Yes.
true.
And
So
thank
true.
you for bringing all of us together. for those listening, I had not met Chanell before, right? So like this is another way that not only are we spreading the awareness and the importance of representation, right? But now I'm able to have someone else in my network, someone else that I care for, that I can refer to, that we can be in contact with. So for you, Jasleen, as an intern, right, like we're still creating these spaces and we're uplifting one another, no matter how seasoned you are in the field.
Yes.
Yep. Connecting the dots, connecting the dots. So I want to thank you. We'll have this on our page next month. As far as Black Latina movement as a whole, we have our Talks and Tequila event April 20th in New Jersey, which is just a fun get up for women to get together and talk, have a good time, eat, drink, and just have a safe space where you can just say whatever you want to say, do whatever you want to do, mix and mingle with women that look like you, and just let your hair down. So we have that April 20th, and then May 7th through 11th, we go off Broadway with our production of Mothers and Men. And you can find it all on the Black Latina movement website. So it's blacktlatinamovement.com. You can check the Instagram page. And then, as you all know, the summit page is there. Jasleen said, thank you, Julianna, because I found the link registration on your IG.
Yay!
And Nadia said, thank you. So I want to thank you all and enjoy your day, your sunny day. If you're on the East Coast or in New York, it's a beautiful day. Enjoy your Saturday, get some sun. And as always, the movement keeps on moving.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you all.
Bye, thank you.